A very warm welcome back to your latest industry developments. I've got to apologise for the lateness in getting some of these news videos out. It's not necessarily down to me recording them late, more so being able to put them out in a timely manner. That is because the backlog is pretty significant. For instance, this is being recorded on February 21. A short quick note is that I'm also going away in around 10 days to go and see some family members, so I'm trying to work ahead as much as possible to enjoy maybe even 3 days off. I hope you can understand, but let's crack on. Today's coverage focuses on a new aircraft order, sort of, for the Airbus A220, United Airlines continuously planning for 737-10 delays, and a major Asian carrier nearing an aircraft order worth 100 plus units. Let's begin with the A220 developments, with Breeze Airways announcing a further commitment to the series. As part of the latest deal, Breeze will acquire an additional 10 A220-300s, bringing total firm orders for the aircraft type to 90. Additionally, what this does is make the airline the third largest customer for the series worldwide, a substantial achievement for, at the end of the day, the still relatively young airline within the United States. Interestingly, it's not technically a new aircraft order. These orders have actually come from purchase rights being converted into firm orders. While these 10 options have been altered, there are still 30 remaining should the airline believe more jets need to be acquired. While much discussion is around the order top-up to bolster its commitment to the series, one of the more significant announcements actually comes from Breeze, confirming it'll transition to all Airbus-produced aircraft. Breeze moving to only Airbus-produced planes has been a long time in the making. When launching and until now, the airline has heavily relied on Embraer jets. These planes have been drafted in to help fulfill capacity requirements as they await more A220s. But the mission was to always move towards only Airbus-produced aircraft, as this would mean efficiency and overall average age would be improved drastically. If you are indeed after the specifics following this latest commitment, Breeze says that by year's end, they'll move fully to Airbus-produced jets and remove all Embraer aircraft currently in service. A move to only flying the A220 will mean, based on that average fleet age that I spoke of, Breeze will have among the youngest fleets in the United States. This a move that'll allow for maximum efficiency across the network. The first A220 arrived with Breeze in December of 2021, and it's slowly but surely grown its commitment. Airbus says that their A220 is the only aircraft that is purposefully built to cater to growing demand and brings customers a 50% reduced noise footprint. When they took on the program as it was formerly known the C-Series, one of their biggest ambitions was to push it into North American markets, and you could argue that with Delta, JetBlue, Air Canada, Breeze, among others, successfully ordering and operating the aircraft, Airbus has done well there. On to the next story, and that is United Airlines has long been planning on moving forward without the 737-10 in its fleet plan for a considerable period. That wouldn't necessarily be brand news to you if you've been keeping up with the industry, but if you haven't, and this just so happens to be the first ever video you've seen aviation related, well, there you go, that's a bit of information for you. The plans to move forward without the aircraft were really elevated following the most recent door blowout incident on the 737-9 that occurred at the top of the year and plunged Boeing into new quality assurance difficulties. As a result of the new quality-related difficulties, only further uncertainty was placed on the 737-10's certification. This variant, for some added background, is slated to be the highest capacity variant in the MAX series and has United as a core customer, but it has encountered significant delays to its debut. Now, off the back of reporting from the always reputable The Air Current, United Airlines has actually said that it will rely on other aircraft types, as it continues to battle delays associated with acquiring the 737-10s. Is this necessarily a shock? No, they were hardly going to rely on, say, submarines, but their chief financial officer said they'll look at specifically adding more 737-9s, again, that's part of the MAX series, alongside A321 aircraft to mitigate some of the losses felt. In January, you had industry analysts and also reporters discuss the potential of United looking towards more A321neo orders to help with the 737-10 losses. Ultimately, the plan, while is a means to avoid just some of the just some of the difficulties, will still mean that United will be unable to grow as fast as a company they had ideally wanted to. It's important to note that an order for the 737-10 is still in place, therefore we don't have a cancellation. But United is largely making every short to medium term plan not to include this type. The perfect analogy could be you're building a home, but that home won't be ready for 4 years, and you need to try and figure out what you're going to do for the next 4 years. Are you going to rent, live with family, or something else? If United didn't make alternative plan, they would see further problems arrive. Away from focusing on some of your next generation aircraft, United Airlines will also likely be forced to rely heavily on its older but also reliable types. I'm looking at the 757. However, there are obvious concerns present with a heavier reliance on older planes. This involves directly their cost-cutting measures and their attempts to become more efficient. While the 757s are reliable and a fantastic plane, they are part of the previous generation of aircraft, and in an ideal world, probably wouldn't be relied on as heavily as they're going to need to be. Ultimately, what this will also do is extend the life of the planes that are on the way out, so you need to factor in things such as maintenance costs and much more to ensure that the planes are up to the highest standard. For United, all of this really signifies just how, even if you're a large company, you can still see negative ramifications from the delayed entry into service of an aircraft. And again, United aren't the only company impacted by the delays. There are many right around the world. On to the final story of today. That sits with Cebu Pacific, continuing to move towards a pretty big narrow-body order that was actually first discussed in 2023, when the airline said they were looking for new planes to generally diversify their overall risk levels. As part of this prospective deal at the time, Cebu said they were looking at Airbus or Boeing to provide them with an efficient narrow-body. Cebu was reportedly eyeing a purchase of more than 100 aircraft, so it's a pretty lucrative contract. According to the airline's CEO, the company is now continuing with this process, identifying Q2 of 2024 as when a decision will be made on whether Airbus or Boeing will be selected. A significant aircraft order will not just be big for Cebu Pacific, but also for the Philippines. Once the order is confirmed, it will likely be the largest ever purchase of aircraft for the country, a noteworthy feat that was cited last year when discussions were in their early stages. Also, a deal will align with substantial fleet growth plans that Cebu has as they look to achieve these in the coming decades. In terms of the aircraft that are likely being pitched, well, you've got the 737 MAX family and the A320neo family. Included in this could be your A321neo and 737-10, but interestingly, at the moment, Cebu's fleet consists of Airbus-produced planes, including your neo variants. So Airbus would at least like to think that they're well positioned to potentially secure more orders. Boeing's mission, on the other hand, will be to get the customer away from Airbus to help diversify its aircraft operations. However, to actually make the switch to Boeing, Cebu must analyze if the benefits outweigh the cons. That's going to conclude today's aviation news recap. If you have any thoughts, well, the best place to leave it is down below in the comments. Thanks a lot for understanding what I discussed, hopefully, at the beginning of this video. I really do appreciate your support. I'm glad you've been enjoying the content. Lots has been happening, and long may it continue. Take care, be safe. I'll see you next time. And we'll